Good morning, this is Eva Earhart here from Global Gardener. This morning I'm going to harvest propagation material. I'm going to propagate a lot of plants, and then the best time of the day is in the morning, because then during the night the cells inside the plants are full with water, full of fluid, and that means they're nice and plump and all the cells are nice and turgid. So in the morning, while it's nice and cool, is the perfect time for collecting propagation material. So this is an Acalypha, also known as the Fijian fire plant. Look at its colours, it's just stunning. They come in different forms. This one has got curly, squiggly leaves. So I'm looking for a plant that is perky, healthy. I don't want a plant with droopy leaves. It's got to be turgid and ready to propagate. So what am I looking for? I'm looking for a branch and stem that's quite long and quite solid. So I had to dive deep into the vegetation. So you can see this branch is quite solid, and I've cut it just under the node are all these little lumps, and this is where the new leaves and shoots come from, and we can see that here. You've got all the different nodes. So I'll let all the branches be quite long, and then I'm going to place them in a bucket of water to keep the moisture in until I'm ready to propagate. So I will actually propagate these plants this afternoon, but I harvest in the morning. What about the plant here behind me? It's got no leaves whatsoever. It's a Bangkok rose, Masa Enda. Now during the cooler months, during the dry season here in the tropics, it's not uncommon for this plant to shed all of its leaves, but that doesn't mean it's dead. If we have a closer look here, we can actually see the buds coming out. So it is, and we have buds all over starting to sprout. So it's definitely alive, and there's lots of energy in there. So I'm going to take cuttings from this plant, and the hormones in there are encouraging this plant to grow not only foliage, leaf matter, but also roots. Now the tools that I use when I propagate, for smaller branches, use a pair of secateurs. For larger branches, a pair of loppers. And if there's larger branches still, I might need to use a pruning saw. Now most of the time I do use my secateurs. But in this case, with this Masienda, the branches are quite large, so I'm going to use my trusty loppers. Now I will cut it just above a node, because that means the new growth from this plant, new leaves will come from the node. And collecting your mother stock, your propagation material, that's a good time too to prune your plants, because you're actually doing two jobs at once. But today I'm just collecting propagation material. So let's make a clean cut here. And we'll have another one over here. So this should give me enough propagation material for several plants. I'll put them in water and they will keep until I'm ready this afternoon. Now this shrub is an Alemanda Sunny. Only grows to about 1 metre tall. It doesn't have a really nice, neat, round habit, but it flowers all year round. And it's very hardy. But when I take propagation material from this, it's a little bit different, because the branches, as you can see, are a lot thinner, and there's multiple small branches. So I have to select a branch like this one that's just that little bit thicker. This is probably one of the largest branches I can get. Now we have to be careful because this one has got a white sap. Don't know if you can see that, and that stains your clothes. The reason why my shirts are full of stains, I have special shirts when I collect propagation material and prune, because your shirts will never be the same. So I will collect half a dozen of these, because you should never think that you have 1 or 2 cuttings and they will all strike. It's never 100%. Remember, gardening is an art form more than a science, depending on so many variables, on the weather, on the temperature, on the humidity. This morning it's rather overcast. Oh, you can hear the parrots in the background here. They're flying all around, getting their morning breakfast. This stem here, and it's got multiple, all the nodes are a lot closer, very different from the Musa ender, and it's got full of foliage. I'll take a few cuttings of these as well. So this is a beautiful Croton. It's a highly sought after plant in tropical landscaping due to the stunning foliage. The leaves come in different shapes, different patterns, different colours. And the shrub lives for quite a long time. I've seen shrubs 40 years old that you can rejuvenate by pruning. But I'm taking a cutting from this today. Now it's interesting, this type of plant here, all the foliage is up top, and down the bottom there's hardly any leaves because the sun can't get there. So to rejuvenate this plant, I'm going to cut it quite low down at the base, and then I'll also get propagation material. So once again, we're killing 2 birds with 1 stone, as the saying goes. I have to use my trusty loppers because they're quite sturdy, quite a large stem, and the best thing is this type of plant, you can actually propagate it. It's a semi-hardwood cutting. I can propagate it from quite large stems. So, half of the shrub is gone. However, the existing stem that's left there is going to grow multiple of leaves. Just give it a few weeks because it's getting to be summer, spring, so all the foliage, all the plants are growing now really well. And this stem here will probably give me, I would say 15 cuttings. And you can see all the nodes here. So there's a lot of plants just from this stem alone here. I could probably get 1, 2, 3, 4, probably 5 or 6 cuttings. So this Croton does really well. It's easy to propagate from, and I'm really looking forward to have this one in my new garden. This plant here is a succulent, which means it's pretty hardy, needs minimal water, minimal maintenance, but have these pretty red flowers during the dry season, and it does attract the honey eaters. What about propagating from this shrub? Not a problem. However, there's one thing we have to have a look at that's a little bit different. It's very fleshy, and it has white sap. So the white sap, not only does it clog up your tools, you always have to clean your tools after propagating. Euphorbiaceae generally got white sap. And this one here, it also can be very irritant to your skin and especially your eyes. So if you're propagating a lot of this, I suggest using protective eyewear, clear glasses, sunglasses. And then it of course stains your shirt. Your shirt will never be the same. But when you propagate a material, you can just lay that on the ground and let the ends dry up. You do not need to propagate this today. You can leave it for a few days because it will seal off all the water and all the material sugars in the stem will stay here for several days. So that's a good thing about propagating this type of plant. You're not in a hurry. Here I have a cordyline. So it's a monocot, so plants are divided into monocots and dicots. The difference will be in another film. So the monocots here, they don't have similar type of nodes along the stem like dicots. However, it's very easy to take propagation material because you can cut anywhere along this stem. And as you can see, these cordyline need pruning, because when we prune plant, we encourage new growth and new flowering. And because the stems are quite large, I'm going to use my trusty pruning saw, because even though we remove plant material, we want to leave the growing plant in good health. We don't want to do any unnecessary damage to the bark or to the stems, because that's when we invite pest and disease. So I will cut this down, right down here at the bottom, and I will hold it so it doesn't fall over and rip the bark. There we go. Got a long stem. I'll probably get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, probably 6 or 7 cuttings out of this. And because of the type of plant it is, the cuttings here can be larger, they'll be longer. And it's quite a decent size propagation material, but it will grow really well. I will cut another one. There we are. This should be enough material. Another filming session. I will show you how to propagate these plants and what to do with all the old remaining seed pods. Propagating plants is not very difficult. Once again, it depends on the know-how. But very important to look after your mother stock plants before you take propagation material. So this is at least 6-9 months before you take cuttings. So that will be maybe end of last summer. Water, fertilise, prune the plants so it's got a lot of new growth. Then 6-9 months later you will have healthy, good quality propagation material. It's essential to look after your mother stock, because that's the mother for your new baby plants. Good luck and happy propagation.